at the pulse of the community, providing all things news, music, fashion, events, and everything that we talk about in between. It's a lifestyle. We are the culture. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. We are here. We're live.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Good afternoon, Jessica. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Steve Gallen, Vice Chair for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. It's an honor to have you. Everybody is trying to get you to talk to you. You've been in the Herald and on this television network and on this blog site, and we're just honored to be able to have you here to be able to dispel all the rumors, bring truth to fact, and let it be known what is going on with the reopening of Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I'm happy to finally get you on, Steve. I'm just happy.
Well, in spite of all of the cacophony and the challenges we have, I'm presently and will always be a friend to the culture because we're doing this, Jessica, for the culture, for our culture. But I'm excited and definitely unapologetic and transparent about jumping directly into issues relative to what I've spent the past 30 plus years involved in, and that's the education of our children, engagement of our parents, and at the end of the day, the uplift of our community. So definitely, it's been a challenge over the past few weeks, but I believe that this too shall pass. But I think it will only pass if we lean in strongly into our opportunities for improvement, some of the missteps and the mistakes, and also learn from them and move forward. So I'm here. You're correct. I've been on a number of media outlets discussing the reopening as a board member, as a former teacher, principal, superintendent, and very, very excited today to shed some light to our viewers, to our people, to our community, for our children.
Thank you for that. And as it relates to the schools, we're opening on Monday. I understand that there are some guidelines that the school board has put in place or requested that there be a staggered opening on timing for different schools and different grade levels. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, what we said from March through June, we want to reiterate. Our schools never operationally closed, they physically closed. So we're going to resume the education of our children this coming Monday through the same format that we would have done under a regular school year, meaning a regular schedule. Elementary schools have different start and end times. Middle schools have different start and end times, and so do our high schools. That requires us to ensure the flexibility relative to transportation, relative to staff, relative to parents having different drop-off times for their children who attend different configurations. This Monday will be no different. So each parent should have had an opportunity to revisit their school's schedule and their child's individual teacher schedule and follow it accordingly. So plain and simple, if my child, which my child is an elementary school student, she won't be starting school at 7:30 in the morning. High schools do start at 7:30 in the morning. Middle schools start 9 o'clock in some cases, 9 to 3:30, 4 o'clock. So each school will have its established beginning and ending time, and each student will have their school schedule based on the teachers and the courses to which they've been assigned.
Even with elementary school, and I don't know if this is system wide, but I was on with my daughter's school this morning with the orientation with her teacher, and we usually would start her class. She's a third grader at 8:35, but they are preempting what they think may be some type of inability to get everyone on the platform at the same time. So they've asked us to log in at 8:55 instead.
Okay, that's for your child's individual school.
Okay. So there
Okay.
are things that each
There,
school is trying
there,
to.
there are some, yeah, there are some anticipated challenges that we're going to face when you're dealing with technology. We had a big hiccup this week where it wasn't a hiccup of the Miami-Dade County public school system, although we have had some hiccups. Let me be honest about that. But one hiccup in particular was not ours. It was a hiccup that happened across the country where Zoom went out. I have friends in Detroit, friends in Chicago, friends in Atlanta who could not access Zoom in their operating schools at that time for their children because Zoom went out. There was another issue that we had that was outside of the purview of the Dade County Public Schools where GoDaddy had an issue with some of their platforms that had an adverse impact on us. So yes, we do have some issues that we have to own, but we are anticipating that when you start to put nearly 300,000 students on a single platform during the course of one day under a new system, the K through 12 system, we can anticipate some challenges that we're going to face, and we have to navigate through those particular challenges. With respect to what I've advised previously on your show and on every other show, as we transition back into our school experience for our students, I believe, quite frankly, schools are not to be run in a very centralized manner. Schools should be run in a decentralized manner. So the principal, the teacher, the secretary, the custodian, the cafeteria manager at your particular school is in the best position to discuss with you the nuances, the expectations, and in this case, the schedule for your particular child. So I'm very, very glad to hear that's taking place. And what I've tried to do is transition our discussions as a community around education from the bureaucracy downtown to the individual school with individual principals, parents, and teachers and students. So my advice, my recommendation is make sure you have spoken with your child's school, your child's principal, and your child's teacher in this case, where you have a modification in terms of not 8:30, but 8:55. That is a school-based decision based on some anticipated issues.
Okay, so you all are encouraging that decentralization of learning, not as it relates to platform, but attempting to tailor it to that specific student body.
I as a 30-year veteran, Jessica, I see it no other way. Yes, we have to have systems and structures. And again, I was a part of the system and a part of those structures. I oversaw those structures as a principal, as a district administrator, and as a superintendent. But let's face it, yes, we're the elected school board. We have a superintendent, we have district staff, but the people who are in the best position to make decisions relative to the day-to-day, minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour delivery of instruction for your child is your child's principal and your child's teacher. So absolutely, that conversation must take place at the school site level. Our principals, our teachers have been on the ground for a period of time right now. So the nuances relative to what is going to happen at your child's school with your child's teacher must be discussed with your child's school and your child's teacher. That's the only educational success that I can anticipate, because we can't teach children from the ivory tower.
Yes. Very good point. As it relates to teachers, I know that there was a great deal of concern from them not being able to get on the platform with what they were calling adequate time to be able to come up to speed with it and be able to instruct. What has been the response so far?
I think it went above concerns, Jessica. This wasn't about concern. This was simply about some serious challenges that we had. As you may know, the educational programming in the state of Florida is predicated on decisions that are made out of Tallahassee. Let me be very clear. This is not me blaming Tallahassee. This is me saying we had to operate within the four corners of what the Department of Education, the governor's office, decides relative to education. The emergency order regarding the reopening of schools throughout the state of Florida was predicated on an executive order that came out of the Commissioner of Education's office. That executive order, which we now know and we've seen, was challenged in court. The teachers union, FEA, prevailed. Now the state has filed an appeal, and that's going through the particular process. But the bottom line is that every school district had to submit a reopening plan. And that reopening plan to the state's credit, I want to be honest, to the state's credit, wanted to ensure some level of continuity and consistency of educational programming. We can't have certain programming in Miami Beach and have other types of programming for our children in Opelika. We can't have certain standards and expectations in Coral Gables and have different standards and expectations in Miami Gardens and Overtown. So the state wanted to make sure that we provided for educational opportunity and equity, that all students on a single platform with certain standards have access to those types of curriculums, that you don't have a curriculum here, a curriculum there. That being said, there were two options that had to be considered in the reopening plan. Florida Virtual, School Online, and K12.com, K12 Education. The issue was the reopening plan was submitted and it was approved on August 17th. So on August 17th, it was approved by the state. So the district couldn't really move forward with a focused, targeted plan if they were going to go with one of those two platforms. And that's up for discussion. Let me be very honest, as I always am. Those were the two programs that were approved. The districts were not obligated to use those programs. If you were going to use programs approved by the state, those were the two. The district could have opted to stay with what they implemented from March through June. But in staying what they implemented from March through June means your child has Zooms, one child has a Google Classroom, another child has Teams. There were a myriad of programs and platforms that were being used, and our parents expressed some concern about it. And as it relates to accountability, it did provide some challenges. So a single platform, if done right, if done timely, will provide an opportunity for that continuity, that consistency, and more importantly, that equity that the state is speaking to and what I've been a strong advocate for. However, in this case, August 17th, the plan was approved, training rolled out August 20th, 3 days later, with the inability for our teachers to have direct and immediate access to the platform. If you're teaching me how to use a keyboard, you can't lecture me about what it is to use a keyboard. I need a keyboard right here to hit the keys. So the teachers wanted to hit the keys on the platform. They wanted to be able to manipulate, to navigate, to facilitate, and to understand the platform that they were going to be using this coming Monday, August 31st. The initial date for them to have that access was August 31st. Hell, you can't open up the utilization of the platform on the day that it's going to be used. So yes, there were concerns, there was outrage, and I got wind of it through social media and through other communications from teachers. And as a board member, I communicated with the district, with the superintendent. They responded very quickly, and that date was moved up to yesterday. So it was moved up several days ahead for them to be able to access it. Still with some challenges. As late as last night, I got teachers who still had not gotten access to utilize the platform. However, 90+% of our teachers have gotten that access. But to contemplate providing that access on the day that school starts, for me, was unacceptable, was imprudent, and was not practical. So those were some of the challenges that we faced. Those are some of the issues that we, quite frankly, could have and should have anticipated. But right now, the barn door was up. The horses were already out. We had to be responsive to the issues, the missteps, and in some cases, the mistakes, and correct them with a degree of honesty, transparency, and immediacy that this board expects of our superintendent and the community expects of us.
Have there been any discussion with knowing that the instructors were just able to get on board with this new platform on yesterday and school starting on Monday? Has there been any discussion as to whether or not this platform has been solidified as the platform? Is there still an open door after the students and the teachers have begun instruction using this platform to say this platform might not be what we need? Is there an open door to possibly switch?
Well, I think that's up for deliberation. I mean, in any contractual agreement, in any purchase, I'm sure there is some option to switch. But I think once you invest financial capital. Once you invest human capital, you do have to kind of make some financially prudent decisions and try to correct the issues and move forward. For me, I don't think it would be very practical to invest that amount of time and effort into that particular process and then try to switch again. We're not only talking about an investment of time, we're talking about an investment of financial capital. A reported $15 million was invested into this particular resource. I'm sure after everything that we've learned at this particular point, we can anticipate some very engaging and lively discussions starting this coming Wednesday at committee meeting and definitely at the board meeting. So the public will have an opportunity to ask questions, to share information, and the board will have an opportunity in the sunshine to deliberate over some of the issues and concerns and questions that they may have. So absolutely, there's always an opportunity to exit any relationship with a vendor, or quite frankly, a relationship with a person. There's always an exit clause in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at a particular time, you have to be prudent. Are you too far down the road in terms of an investment of time, energy, and financial resources to want to reverse course? And reverse course to what? The only switch that I'm looking forward to, Jessica, and that I'm excited about and I'm praying for is the switch to when we can put our children in the most prudent, the most practical, and the most proven educational system, and that is the brick and mortar, they call it brick and mortar, a face-to-face learning environment with teachers looking into the eyes, looking into the heads, and pouring into the hearts of our students in a classroom physically. That's the switch that I'm looking forward to. But we do have a lot of questions relative to the existing platform. But right now, it is what it is. And if there are opportunities for improvement under these next several weeks or next month or so, obviously we're going to press forward and lean strongly. But I can't anticipate me being supportive of, after everything we've done with respect to this, now switching to something else. The only switch I want is to switch our children into classrooms with teachers that are safe, that are smart, and that are healthy.
We had a comment from a parent, Belinda Gordon, who was saying that she was ready to hit the keys. She's ready to try to get up to speed with this new platform. And I believe all parents are. And I don't believe we will be able to get on before the first day of school. Is that correct?
Parents should have had an opportunity to get through it through the training that was occurring this week. I'm sorry?
Was that the one with the superintendent that got shut down?
That was the one that had a challenge, absolutely. But we also had an expectations that parents would have an opportunity to be trained on the platform. So they're not cold turkey on this coming Monday. But once again, my expectation is start that conversation with the classroom teacher and navigate that through there. So we're talking about a massive training of the parents of over 275,000 children at one time. Yes, we provide a platform for that training. And yes, to your point, that had a problem, but that training was not an isolated training based on simply the platform. That training was giving information relative to the reopening of schools that should have and could have included information about the new platform. But as it relates to one teacher, to a parent, to a student, I think that needs to take place at the school site level.
Okay, well, I'm one of the parents who I still don't have any information about the new platform.
Have you communicated with the teacher about it in particular?
Both of my children are separate. One is in middle, one is in elementary. The elementary didn't give us any login information, and that was today. And then the one in the middle school was interrupted. So I didn't even get to finish.
Yeah, I'm aware of that infamous interruption.
Yeah. So maybe when I jump off, I'll ask some of our producers to get on and try to find out what do parents need to do to be able to log in, because it is a question and I don't have the answer to it.
Yeah, and again, that in and of itself, for me as a parent, as an educator, and as a school board member, that's an issue. That's a problem. I would reasonably expect that at this particular time, our parents would have what they need to be able to navigate the learning experience for their children this coming Monday. But in this particular case, that relationship is predicated on not only the school and the but also what parents need to do as well. So in this particular case, my messaging has been consistent to parents. Be a demand parent. Be an engaged parent. Ask not, you get not. Yes, absolutely. The school, and in some cases, I'm sure schools have taken the initiative to communicate and reach out to parents, as we always do. But in this particular case, where that reach out has not occurred, or that reach out has fallen far below expectations, we need to know about that. We need to know about that because we're on Friday for a start of Monday. And if a parent is not clear about what Monday looks like from an access login standpoint, then once again, we're going to have another day, another potential debacle, and another potential delay on the education of our children moving forward. But again, this is part and parcel to the overall challenges that we've had. But these are challenges that we must be honest about. And these are challenges that we must own if we're going to correct them.
And to your point, at the end of the day, this is not a situation where parents, we don't have a voice and we cannot speak up and ask questions. You get out of it what you put into it. So we're definitely not in a stance of trying to blame anyone about it. Dade County Public Schools did not create COVID. They didn't put our kids out of school. So we all are reacting to a situation that we have no control over. I just believe that we as parents have to do exactly like you said, be a lot more proactive, make demands, ask questions, be a little more of the squeaky wheel to get the oil in order to get a lot of the questions that we need answered. So I believe I will probably be one of those parents that will be asking a lot more questions. And I'm sure the parent who did ask, Belinda Gordon, will also be contacting her children's school to find out what is this login information and what does she need to do for her child on Monday. As it relates to the
I want to thank you for that, Jessica, because people do perceive me as being very hard, but I'm fair. And I think that statement that you made is consistent with my ethos about leadership and, quite frankly, my ethos about life, hard but fair. So yes, we can be critical of the district and the missteps and the mistakes, but we also have to recognize that there's no playbook for any of this. We didn't have the luxury of going back and saying, okay, here's the playbook on what we do during a worldwide pandemic where Florida is the hot spot, where Miami-Dade County is the epicenter, where we're the fourth largest school district in the nation, where we're trying to respond to a state mandate, a state executive order in a certain amount of time. There was no playbook that we could refer to. We're building the playbook as we go. That being said, however, I do feel that there were lessons that we should have and could have learned from March through June. And obviously we did learn some lessons about operations, about feeding children, about staff development, about other things. But I think the Donnybrook was the change to a new platform, which was a decision obviously was made at the administrative level. But right now, all of us have to own. So I do appreciate what you're saying. I'm hard, but I'm fair. And yes, we did not have a playbook on COVID. We could have anticipated some other things, but nobody could predict or follow a playbook that never existed.
Exactly. And there were some chats that were going on during the teachers' orientation and trying to get up to speed. Many teachers were tired, just tired in life, period. And then coming in to try to learn a new platform. And a number of the teachers were saying that they just wanted the teachers to be encouraged because there's no way that you can go into a classroom feeling deflated about a system that actually, to your point, you didn't even have control over until August the 17th. And we have to get to a point where we can make the best out of the situation and do what's right for the children who are going to be leaning on those teachers to give them some guidance to prepare them for tomorrow. We have another comment coming in from Belinda Gordon. She said, we hold a virtual open mic with parents and children every last Wednesday of the month. The anxiety expressed from parents and students is real. They are ready to partner with Miami-Dade County public schools but need more direction. Thank you for your hard work on behalf of our children, Dr. Gallen.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, as it relates to those bus drivers right now and cafeteria workers, will the bus drivers still be employed? And with the cafeteria workers, what's going to happen? We talked before about the possibility of being able to go and grab meals to go. Is that still on the table as an option?
Yeah, absolutely. When we start talking about some of the things that may have gone wrong, I think it's important to celebrate those things that have gone right. And one of the things that the Miami-Dade County Public Schools and this school board and our superintendent and everyone has been committed to is the protection of our employees. We've not terminated any employees as a result of this at this particular time. You know that I was very honored and humbled that God utilized me as the conduit in April to file an item to ensure the compensation of our part-time and hourly employees who would have not gotten paid while schools were closed, and we honored that and they were compensated. So in this particular case, absolutely. Although we're not utilizing any buses on our roads, our bus drivers are employed. In fact, our bus drivers have been deployed to schools throughout Miami-Dade County to provide assistance and support, but again, and equally important, to get compensated. Our cafeteria workers have not taken their foot off of the gas of service and provision for our children, starting in March, because in March we were feeding children. We fed children from March throughout, and we have not stopped feeding children. So our cafeteria staff is to be commended. And yes, they are on deck, ready, willing, and prepared to serve our children starting Monday. And those distribution provisions and schedules and sites for meals are available on the district's website. But once again, if you have a specific question about your child's school, speak to your child's principal or the secretary. Somebody in that school should immediately provide information on how children can get fed and access free breakfast and lunch during this critically important time.
Let's talk about sanitation of the schools. I see the mayor tweeting out that the numbers are going down, and I know what that is precluding. That will be precluding this threshold that was required with the timeline to then go into your phase 2 and get students back into schools. I also saw the superintendent tweet out, it looked like there were some cleaning, janitorial kind of equipment. I believe he turned them as sprayers. Do you have any insight into the way that the schools will be cleaned when
Yes,
students do return?
yes, absolutely. We're having that was a part of our reopening plan. All of our schools, as we do every year, obviously there has to be a deeper dive into this work. When I say every year, we enter into every school year with a great degree of euphoria and excitement. And part of that euphoria and excitement is on the backs of our custodial staff who clean, who strip, who wax, who wipe, who prepare us, who place mulch, who cut grass, who do everything to prepare our children to come into clean, very lively, and very vibrant learning environments. In this particular case, however, we had to take a very special note and a very special approach to sanitization. So we are deep cleaning our schools. There are hand sanitizing stations. There are protocols that are to be followed. And if you had an opportunity to follow me on yesterday on social media, I made an appearance at 5 schools on yesterday. Jeans, t-shirt, cap, mask, and I wanted to make an assessment of the protocols in addition to visiting some of our new administrators who got promoted. I always like to go to a school where there's a new principal and welcome them to District 1 and commend them. But in this particular case, I wanted to kind of gauge how are we being responsive to the protocols. We have some opportunities to improve, make no mistake about it. I did celebrate Carroll City Elementary School. They were on point. They were on deck. I came to the school. They had the thermometer to take my temperature. They had me to complete a questionnaire. They had sanitizer there. They had my ID. I had to sign in. They had everything right there following every procedure. The office area, along with the security station, had the plexiglass. So those provisions are in place. And I wanted to give a shout out to Carroll City Elementary School. I told you I went to 5 schools yesterday. I'm only giving a shout out to one. Okay, so we have an opportunity to improve relative to consistency. I spoke to the region superintendent this morning. I spoke to region staff on yesterday, and they are aware relative to what we must do. Our staffs are working extremely hard, and again, I'm very, very pleased with the protocols that are in place. But those protocols have to be followed with fidelity and consistency. So that's kind of where we are with the cleaning aspect. And not only when you clean it, you can clean a school, but how are you going to manage it on a day-to-day basis when people are coming in and out? So when somebody said, I went in and sanitized the school, okay, what happens the next day and the next day and the next day in terms of people coming in and out? And I just shared with you what should happen. Our positivity rates are now, over the past couple of days, have been around 7.6. I've been harping on getting below 10, because if you get below 10, you're closer to 5. And if you get below 5, we go into phase 2, and we go into the best educational structure for our children. That's face-to-face learning. So that's what we're working towards. That's kind of where we are right now, but it's on a rolling basis over a 14-day period, and we're looking forward to that. So I think you talked about sanitization and you talked about positivity rates. Was there another question you asked about?
It was lunch, but you answered that one as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
With the kids going back into the classrooms, once that is a part of the phase that's approved, will they be behind any type of partition or plexiglass, or is the classroom attendance just going to be reduced?
Yeah, no, we're not making an investment into partitions and classrooms. I saw a picture of a classroom in another country, and children are going to be children. We have to do all that we can to do 3 things: wash our hands, wear masks, and socially distant. I think the community has now responded to that in South Florida, and now we've gone from over 20% positivity rate to below 8%, 7.6 over the past couple of days. So each and every one of us has to do our part. We didn't get that rate down through partitions, through plexiglass. We got that rate down by doing the things that we know are common sense and that are recommended by the CDC. We have plexiglass in certain areas that are frequented by the public, but it is not our intent to create plexiglass structures within classrooms, because we pray and we hope and we're working toward getting to some degree of normalcy outside of the imprudent investment that would be over 275,000 students in over 300 plus schools. So no, that is not our intent. It is to, as your point indicated, to mitigate class sizes so that it can be socially distant, and that we can do all that we can in terms of taking those precautions day in, day out, minute in, minute out, hour in, hour out, in a school that's full, that has children in it.
Okay. Any closing thoughts, Dr. Gallen?
No, just want to ask the public, as I often said to our parents, our public, yes, we are in uncharted waters. When you're in uncharted waters, we don't always necessarily know how to row. But what we do know is that we have to row in this boat together. We, the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, will remain committed and resolute in our primary mission, which is to educate our children, be responsive to our parents and community stakeholders, and hold each and every one of us accountable for the work that we must do. And that accountability starts with us as board members. It goes down to the superintendent, who reports to the board, and it is expected to spread far and wide and deep throughout this entire system. But that accountability also has a role as it relates to parents. Parents must also be accountable. So where parents are holding us accountable, we want our parents to be accountable to their roles to ensure the best for their children. And as I say, I like to create an environment and an ethos and a mindset of demand parents. If you're not getting what you deserve or what your child deserves, you need to demand that. But to demand that, you need to know that. And to know that, you need to be informed. And to be informed, you need to be engaged. And one platform for information and engagement is through my sister, Jessica Modkins. That platform is the culture. So if you want to know what's going on, tune in to the culture, tune in to the culture, tune in to the culture. And I want to thank you for providing this platform of information and engagement to our parents and to our community members, for our children, for our community, but again, as always, for our culture. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Jessica, and looking forward to further discussions in the next few days and definitely next week on some
Yes.
other issues that we're excited about.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Gallen, for joining us. And as always, it's a pleasure coming to you live. We'll be back tonight at 6 o'clock with My Two Cents, where we'll allow you to let your hair down, have a drink, and just laugh. Laugh because it's something that we all need to do because life has a lot of seriousness going on. Follow us on The Culture on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also on YouTube. And our website is theculture.xyz. We'll see you later on tonight. And we appreciate you again, Dr. Gallen, for joining us. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Stay blessed and be safe.
Yes. And we'll see you tonight.
Yeah, and call your child's teacher. Get that access information.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't get that access information, holler at us.
Welcome to The Culture. We rest.
The Culture is produced and owned by Hip Rock Star Media and cannot be reproduced or broadcast without written consent by Jessica Garrett Modkins. All rights reserved 2020.